Welcome back. I'm Karen Vaughn. Today is World Suicide Prevention Day, and we're going to continue our discussion with resources, wellness, awareness. We're talking mental health in our community and beyond. We want to thank our sponsor, Eskenazi Health, for powering this powerful chat today. I want to bring back my panel. I have David Berman, Alice Jordan Miles, and Marcus Watts. Thank you guys so much for being here. We've talked about COVID. We've talked about mental health in the Black and Brown communities. And when we talk about COVID and the pivot and the transitions that we've had to make in the past year, some of us and some companies are returning to work. Our kids have returned to in-person schooling. How is that affecting one's mental well-being going back to work, not necessarily feeling comfortable, but you have to provide for your family, a child not being comfortable going to school, wearing a mask, not really focused on their studies because they're just worried about COVID. What do we do? How do we help them?
It's interesting in how we've come full circle as far as anxiety goes. A year and a half ago, we were all anxious about COVID itself. And are we going to get sick? Are our children going to get sick? How are we going to handle working from home? And we sort of, we've talked about normalcy. We accepted the situation we were in and started to become a little more acclimated towards it. And now, and let's take a couple of months step back. So a couple of months ago, we started to transition back, and that anxiety started reemerging again, but it wasn't specifically because of COVID, but it was, how do I get back out there? With working from home, we've all gotten into our own little routines. We don't have to do that commute anymore. I have been notorious over the past year and a half for probably wearing a baseball hat for 75% of the meetings that I have. People don't recognize me without a baseball hat on. And I'm a runner. And so if I run the night before and I take a shower, I'll wake up and I can have pillow marks in my face and be at work in 7 minutes. Throw a baseball hat on, brush my teeth, grab coffee, and there you're at work there. We've gotten into these routines. What happens when we get back to the office and all of a sudden the guy in the office next door to us talks really loud on the phone? Or, when I'm going to the kitchen to throw something in the microwave, this other person is chewing really, I never noticed how loud they chewed, and it's bugging the hell out of me.
Or is the microwave sanitized?
Right. Oh, yeah, right. Exactly. Is the microwave sanitized? Did somebody else touch this? Did they, vaccine, not vaccine? And so you mentioned school, Karen, too. So the elementary school kids are the demographic that have been the most excited to get back to school in person and see their friends. And there is story after story after story of kids who were excited and they get at the threshold of school and they have a full-blown panic attack. Because wait a second, you've been telling me for a year plus, stay away from people. And this is why I have to go to school at home and wear a mask. And now you're telling me it's okay. But then I'm hearing about Delta and, because as much as we try to protect our kids from the media and the news and everything that's going on out there, they know about it and they go into full blown panic attacks. And we're not even talking about, again, mention Delta, but we're not even talking like going back to work and stuff, what that looks like, because we were headed back to work personally at Mental Health America of Indiana, and we kind of shut that down because of Delta. So we are just going like peaks and valleys, up and down. It is like an emotional roller coaster and a physical health roller coaster, and just turning our lives upside down. What's tomorrow going to bring? What's next week going to bring? What's next year going to bring? What happens when we get into flu season? How is this going to affect, the typical holiday blue? We have no idea. And I feel like all we can do is just be prepared for what's going to hit us next and sort of be hyper vigilant. What's coming around the corner the next time? So,
and to your point, David, we're talking about kids going back to school and feeling that anxiety, and adults as well. I have gone to work and I typically have maybe a list, let's just say, of 10 things to do, right? Now, if I get through 4 of those items, I've had a good day. And it's just being self-aware to the point of where I typically push myself through, I'm having feelings and thoughts of, I'm realizing I can't push through. And in the beginning, you push through anyway. And now I'm finding it okay not to push through and being okay with it. That was very hard because typically I'm that thrive, push through, get it done. I have no choice, right? And if 4 things get done and 4.5 things get done, that's the best I can do. And I have to be okay with it. How do we get to the point of just doing the best that I can do and being okay with it?
I think we just need to be kind to ourselves and not put the pressure on ourselves to keep up the pace. Nobody can do that. Nobody can keep that pace up. And I wish I did a better job practicing what I preached. I mean, I feel like I work 16-hour day after 16-hour day after 16-hour day, and I just power through and I power through. Yep. Yet I preach the hell out of boundaries and taking care of yourself. And I mean, I remember several times over the last year where, working 12, 14, 16 hours, try and get some sleep, can't sleep, get up and, just watching TV or watching like whatever, comedies, movies that I like, and right in the middle, just burst into tears. And I'm thinking to myself, what the hell is wrong with me? Mm-hmm. It gets to you. And we need to be okay with the fact that we're not going to get everything done. We are not supermen or superwomen. We cannot keep this pace up. We can't be expected to keep this pace up. I like to joke, remember the good old days when you only had 5 meetings a day and not 10 meetings a day? And that's
virtually.
Right, exactly, because you had to go from point A to point B, not a 3-minute break to run to the bathroom and let the dog out and grab a drink. Nobody can keep that kind of pace up. And we need to give ourselves a break. We need to not have, in the same sense, if we are that individual that sets that kind of pace, we need to be absolutely okay with the other individuals that we work with that don't set that same pace. I hate, and I don't even remember what it's called, with Office 365, where it's like you get this email that tells you about the trends and stuff you're doing, and you could
who you didn't email back, who you need to email back. It's like stop.
and it screams at you basically for sending an email at 2 a.m. when you really should be doing it at like 9 a.m. And I like delete them because I don't want to know how wrong I'm doing it all. But I mean, we just need to be kinder to ourselves and stop putting so much pressure on ourselves. Otherwise, it ultimately will take its toll. I mean,
how can one cope? What should they do when they feel? How can one cope when they're feeling the anxiety or feeling the pressure where I just can't do anymore? Right?
Stop.
Okay.
Just stop. When you are at your breaking point, stop. I don't care what it is, what a deadline. I mean, it doesn't matter. There is nothing that is life or death except for life or death. And that email will get taken care of tomorrow. And, I can't tell you how many conferences or something or presentations that, I've seen that somebody got sick. They couldn't make it. They had some emergency. It's okay. I mean, we're all kind of in this place where if we're not of the mindset that, you know what, stuff happens and this is a new reality and we need to, I don't want to say lower the expectations, but not put as much pressure on ourselves and others. It's okay to stop if it's the difference between you having a total meltdown and something not getting done, you know what? It's not going to get done. You need to stop. You need to take the time for yourself. You need to be aware of the little things that are meaningful to you, the things that are meaningful to other people. And sometimes it's as simple as that, just these little things. But I really, I think the boundaries, and again, I am preaching, but I don't practice it. Say no. Stop doing what you're doing, set those boundaries, and make sure you are focused on the things that matter, because, work is important and it puts food on the table. And, work that Marcus and I and Alice are doing, where we're helping people, it's draining. It's draining, and you cannot pour into somebody else's cup when your cup is empty, and you need to take care of yourself. It's like the oxygen mask theory of parenting. Oxygen mask drops, you put it on yourself first, and you have to take care of yourself before you can take care of others. We've all been at that breaking point, and you know what? I'm not going to lie to you. We're going to continue to be there. Every day is a new challenge. Make sure that you take care of yourself, and if you need to stop.
Yes.
Just stop.
What would you, as a parent, right? And parents that are listening, what are some of the signs that you can observe, right? If your child is struggling with their mental health, and or when you are a coworker, maybe you're sitting in the cubicle next to someone, or you're a manager and someone just may not be performing, right? Because we're all struggling. What are some of the signs that a coworker, a manager, and then with parents, they can look out for with your kids?
I think with my son, it's all about body language. My son is very similar to me. He's 12. He'll be 13 in December. So he's at that age where he's growing into a man. And it's about body language. I still want to be a parent of behaviors, but I've learned to loosen up a bit. I learned to loosen up a bit because I understand it's a lot going on right now. It's a lot on my end, but also on his end. Even with being away from his friends for all the time that he had to be away from his friends and getting acclimated to being back in the school system. And for him, in this case, going to a new school, of course, some of the same friends, but going to a new school because he's a 7th grader now, I just tried to watch his body language. And I know that he's still figuring it out. I reassure him as much as I can that he could talk to me and learn how to express his feelings and get his point across verbally, but he's still a kid. He's still learning. So I try to watch how he's carrying himself and even the things that he says. He's a very witty kid. So just watching the things that he's saying and being more relaxed and understanding that he is human first and foremost. And what he's going through, it does matter. So just trying to keep all those things in mind and not putting too much on his plate when he's still trying to figure out how to even deal with the things that he already deals with, peer pressure, trying to find out his niche in school and all these things. At that age, that stuff seem like it's life altering. When you get 30, you realize it didn't mean anything, but I understand his point of view. And I try to just watch how he's carrying himself and let him know that, everything is going to be all right. If you express it or not, you always could. But just the reassurance and watching how he's carrying himself, it helps me the most.
Yeah.
And that's a great point, Marcus. And it's probably more so with our family, our kids, our spouses, maybe best friends. We know what their baseline is. We know what when things are normal, whatever that normal looks like, we know what that baseline is. And when things don't look like that baseline, and there isn't necessarily an explainable reason for it, I think that's when, you really need to be even more aware. And so, when individuals are experiencing bouts of depression, for example, it's very similar to having an addiction to something. You have these blinders on and you don't know. I mean, you have no idea, but it's the other people around you who know what that baseline is and see that, okay, there's change. You used to sleep pretty decent. You're not anymore. You used to eat. Now you're not eating, in the same way. You used to be pretty happy, and now you're in a bad mood all the time. There's something going on there. And so I think it's, a lot of it is just being really aware, paying attention to, to our kids, to our family, to our friends, knowing what that normal baseline is. Yeah, things are different now, and that baseline may be changing because it's a whole new world. But, if we're aware and we pay attention, you're going to notice behavior changes. As Marcus said, how his son carries himself, facial expressions, body language, the words that he uses. I'm sure when something's off with him, when something is not exactly right. I think it's the same with all of us, or us ourselves. I mean, I rely on my wife. When she notices something is off, then, and you have that trust relationship where it's like, all right, I may not like to hear what you're telling me, but I trust you enough to believe that what you're saying is accurate. That's probably the best approach. Just know what the norm is and then be understanding when things aren't that normal.
Absolutely. Thank you guys both for just your thoughts and the resources that our listeners can use in regards to kind of pinpointing. And I love the baseline. I love that, David. And I love body language, Marcus. So we can kind of like take that in our toolbox when we are observing our kids and our friends and, our social circle as well as those that are at work. Today, if you're just joining us, it is World Suicide Prevention Day. This is our third annual Stop the Music, where we have a serious, candid conversation about mental health and resources to help everyone through, powered by Eskenazi Health. And we'll be back with more.